Good morning, everyone. Danny here with Salon Agility, and I just wanted to make a video walkthrough of like our whole like AI booking bot flow. Um, like that's for like meta ads, so like Facebook and Instagram. And this video is primarily for people in the high level community who have asked me, if I had a video or whatever to kind of just show the flow and stuff like that. Um, so this video is for you, and some others may end up seeing the video as well. But I'll try to keep this kind of short. Going to be difficult, but just try to bear with me. So before we get into the flow, okay. So here's like one of the main workflows. Okay. There's different workflow sets for, you know, each one. So like each offer has its own, workflow set, okay? And then each offer also has its own follow-up system, okay? But we'll get into all that. Uh, right now, we're just going to be looking at 002 because that's the one I happen to have something in the like a dummy lead in the pipeline for. But before we get into like the nuts and bolts of the workflows, okay, I want to first show you guys some results, okay? Because, anybody can make a snapshot um, or a workflow and tell you it's the best in the world, but like, does the workflow, does the snapshot, do the bots actually produce results in the real world? I.e., do they put money in people's bank accounts? Okay, so let's just jump into an actual client account. And take a look. Okay, so here goes like an actual pipeline that's using the workflow. This particular person's pipeline has an extra step in it called appointment booked on Booksy, which is a system that doesn't integrate with anything. But we had to throw that in here, and we just threw that in here a couple days ago. That's why there's only 6 appointments in there. Before we were just using appointment book GHL, but she wanted to start. She wanted the extra step of Booksy, so we threw that in there. And another thing to note about this person's pipeline is that it's always off by like 2 to 3 weeks, so she doesn't update this all the time. Meaning the service completed one, like we have no idea of knowing who shows up for a service, at her spa. Okay, so the clients need to manually update that part of it, service completed. Okay, so hers is always off by a few weeks because she's just busy. Okay, but here goes the stages of the pipeline. Hot lead, this is when they fill out the form. Appointment booked on GHL, this is when they either book on a landing page or booked by a bot, or book through like an automated link that gets sent out, etc. Appointment booked on Booksy, this is for her. This means they've booked on the landing page, but now she puts them in on Booksy, and she collects the deposit. So we let them book on GHL without the deposit. When she puts them in on Booksy, she gets the deposit. And then here goes like her follow-up system. We got calls 1 through call 5, okay? And as you can see, her pipeline is kind of packed. Again, this is off. It's way more than $6,800 or whatever, okay? And she's got plenty more still in play in the pipeline. 37,000 sitting in call 1, 5,000 sitting in call 3, long-term nurture, 58,000 sitting in long-term nurture. And a lot of these leads are still in play. Like they've been getting automated messages. This person here, she might have became a lead 2 months ago. You know what I mean? She's been getting nurturing messages for the past 2 months, and she hasn't DND'd yet. A lot of these people in here, these 332 leads, I'm not going to say all of them, obviously, but quite a few of them are still in play. And sometimes it just takes a couple months for someone to actually convert. So still a lot going on in her pipeline. With the ad, still crushing it, by the way. But so that's, her pipeline for one offer. Here goes her pipeline for another offer, a body sculpting offer, where we see the same exact kind of things, okay? again, it's off by a couple weeks. It's been way more than 20,000 service completed. And the Booksy one is a new stage, so it's kind of empty right now. But, with this client, it's an intro offer. It's a $185 intro offer, but we're selling packages out of it. So she's selling the packages for all different kinds of prices. Okay, 2,300, 1,300, 600, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And her, same kind of thing going on in her pipeline. So I just wanted to show that real quick. And this isn't what I'm showing you here, this is just one case, okay? So let's go ahead and close these. So I just wanted to show you guys that my clients who actually use this, they see results with it. So let's jump into the main workflow, I guess, okay? So this is like the main workflow, okay? This is the hot lead workflow. And this is in, like a master dummy account that like the snapshot is for, okay? The actual trigger would be Facebook lead form submitted, but in here it's just a test tag, because when I give the snapshot to people, even if I put there's no Facebook page to select here, you know what I mean? So, what the people who get the snapshot need to do is just put the Facebook lead form submitted trigger there, select their page, there's no pages there, and then select their form, okay? Which it's not going to let me do because we have no Facebook page for this account here. But that's the actual trigger. There's a lot going on in this workflow. We're using the updated GHL opportunities actions. The old ones were deprecated, so we've already moved over to the new one. And we're just, basically updating the pipeline. As you'll see, everything's custom values. Almost everything is custom values that we're using, which makes it very scalable and able to repurpose from one client to the next, one offer to the next, et cetera, et cetera. We're waiting to see if they book on the landing page here. And another workflow, the appointments workflow, we're using, if they book on the landing page, they're being added with a certain tag, which you'll see here in a second. By the way, I suck at making videos, as you'll also see, but so we're just using some conditional logic to determine if they booked on a landing page. If they did book on a landing page, they get removed from this workflow. If they didn't book on a landing page, they're going to get the first message, okay? And it's a custom value, okay? Let's jump into the document and just see. Let's open this one up. So this is the message they would be getting, okay? And I have a whole thing to repurpose this from one offer to the next, which is in here, okay? There's a YouTube video, there's a custom GPT that helps you with it. You just pop in the details of the offer, okay? And then you pop in what I call the offer details master template into the custom GPT, and then it's going to spit everything. It's going to create all the custom values for you. But trying to make this quick, so I'll skip some stuff. But if they don't book on the landing page, they're going to get the first message. Hey, contact first name. This is Bella. Bum 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 bum. Okay. Looks like you were interested in our mommy makeover. Also, when would be a good time to set up your free consultation? Blah blah blah. Okay. That's what's going on there. Initial message, we wait 30 seconds, then we send initial message part 2. We wait 10 minutes for a reply. If they reply, it initiates bot 1. If they don't reply, it times out where we send them like a link to the landing page. So this is like the main AI bot workflow, and it's for leads who haven't yet booked an appointment. At any point in this workflow, if they book an appointment, they're going to automatically get removed from this workflow by another workflow. But so this workflow has 5 bots in it, okay? Bot 1, bot 2, bot 3, bot 4, and as you guessed it, bot 5, okay? And there's a lot going on in this workflow, a lot of different go-to steps and stuff like that. It can seem kind of confusing, but once you look at it and you look at the custom values and stuff like that, it's really not confusing at all, okay? the reason why there's so many different bots, okay, in the one workflow is because we want these leads to get followed up with over time. Okay, so some of them, they're not going to respond to the initial message. They're not going to respond, and my screen's being a little crazy right now, so forgive me for that. But some of them aren't going to respond to the initial message. Some of them aren't going to respond to the re-engagement message. Some of them aren't going to respond to any of this, okay, at all, okay? So we want to be following up with them over time, okay, over about a week and a half or however long this workflow goes for, okay, because leads need to be followed up with. But and then when you come all the way down to bot 5, if they still haven't, if they still haven't booked an appointment or anything like that, they're going to get moved to a long-term nurture workflow, which is a long-term nurture workflow. So it's a pretty complex looking workflow, but it's a pretty simple workflow. Okay, it's just following up with leads. Okay, and one of the important things about this workflow is this part right here. Okay, this go-to step right here. Okay, so by itself, GHL bots can only engage with leads who have messaged. Okay. So it's not going to just engage with a lead who hasn't sent a message. Okay. So what we do is it's this go-to step right here is really important. Okay. This one's, they're all important. Okay. But by itself, GHL bots can only engage with, if you don't do anything creative, they're not going to send messages to leads who haven't engaged. Okay. So this timeout right here, again, we sent these messages up here. Now we have a wait step. And if they don't reply to those messages, it's going to go to the timeout where we're going to send them the booking link. We're going to wait 2 hours for a reply to that. And if they still haven't replied, we're going to use this go-to step to send them over to bot 1's timeout message. So they're going to get taken from essentially like a no reply side, okay, and thrown into, kind of artificially inserted into the bot side of the workflow, okay? And this is going to allow them to get followed up with all the way down to the end of this workflow, okay, is what's happening here, bringing them over to there, because now they're going to get this message regardless, okay? If they reply to that, or if the other leads reply to that, it's going to go to bot 2, so on and so forth, okay? But so another reason why there's so many different bots in here, and I can kind of just show you better in the Google Doc, but so this is the prompt, okay? And the prompt is built on custom values as well, okay? Almost everything is built on custom values, but so let's look at this part of the prompt right here, okay? They've just replied to one of these messages, initial message or initial message 2, or timeout, okay? This is what I just showed you guys up here, okay? So we're giving the bot some context, and we're telling the bot in the prompt, okay, they've replied to this message. We have to put both of them in there, but in the prompt. We have to put both of them in the wait step, but they've just replied to, sorry about that. They've just replied to one of these messages or the timeout, okay? So we're giving the bot a little bit of context, okay? We're giving it it's prompting and stuff like that. You are so-and-so, contact first name, just filled out a meta lead form, designed to whatever the benefits are, okay? That kind of thing, but and then it goes down into like the rest of the prompt and stuff like that. So in the hot lead workflow, all the prompts for the personality part of all 5 bots, okay, like it says here, paste everything below into the personality section of bot 1, paste everything below into the personality section of bot 2, okay? There's different bots because there's different follow-up messages that are being sent, okay? In bot 2, they've just replied to this message, okay? Re-engagement message, okay? And let's go to bot 2 just so you can kind of see that. So the bots, one bot picks up where another bot left off at. Okay, so in bot one, okay, the timeout was the re-engagement message, which is basically just, hey, are you still there or something? Let me see what the re-engagement message was real quick, just so. Re-engagement. Yeah, hey, are you still there? Okay. Um, so they've just replied to this message. This is in bot two's prompting. Okay. And so bot one times out if they don't reply. Okay. And bot one's timeout is a re-engagement message that waits 1 day for a reply. If they reply, it's going to initiate bot two. If they don't reply, they're going to get another follow-up in a day, which is called gentle reminder with value prompt. Okay. And it's the same kind of thing. We're waiting for a reply. If they reply, we're sending them to the corresponding bot. Okay. I hope this makes sense. I know it could be confusing, but it's really not. If they reply, we're sending them to the corresponding bot. If they don't reply, we're sending them to a timeout. Okay. So there's multiple different bots in that workflow because it's different follow-up messages. Okay. And the one for bot three, they've just replied to this message, gentle reminder. Okay. And bot four, they just replied to one of these messages. Okay. Objection handling part one or objection handling part two. Okay. And bot five, they just replied to one of these messages. Okay. So, I hope that makes sense. And again, I suck at making videos, and I'm trying to keep this video relatively short. But there's a ton of follow up baked into here. Okay, into this workflow. Okay, let's take a look at another workflow, the appointments workflow. Okay, and this one's pretty simple. They're all pretty simple, even though they look crazy with the go-to steps and whatnot. But trigger is appointment status confirmed. Okay. Basically just, adding a tag for classification and whatnot. Okay. Updating a contact field, sending some alerts to the team member or whatever. Okay. Updating the pipeline. Okay. Sending an email to the lead. Okay. Who booked the appointment. And even in the email messages, it's all custom values, meaning that if you follow the custom value system, okay, and you use the repurposing template, okay, that we have right here with the custom GPT and whatnot, that's going to recreate the custom values for you, okay, you're not going to have to touch any of this, okay, no matter if it's body sculpting or a facial, okay. Now this is for aesthetics, okay, so beauty and aesthetics. I do have a home services version of this snapshot as well, but this particular video is focusing on beauty and aesthetics. But so the SMS that's going to the lead, this kind of thing here, has everything. Our custom values provider singular. In this case, it's going to be our body sculpting specialist or whatever the custom value says. Let's see. Custom value provider singular. Okay. Oh, our body contouring specialist. Okay. There's also a plural version of it if you needed that, but our body contouring specialist will go over your customization factors. Actually, we could just look at the actual thing here because I have this set up here. Okay. So let's see. So message contents in bold are custom values. Okay. Hey, contact first name. Your cryo slimming consultation with our body contouring specialist is all set for boom, boom, boom. This is all about you, your target area, body composition, and aesthetic goals. If it was for a facial, it's going to be different, okay? But the custom value structure and system is all the same, okay? But, these are all the notifications and whatnot, 24-hour reminder, that kind of thing. Please reply 1 to confirm your appointment. If you need to reschedule, reply with 2. Okay. Pretty simple. Okay. If they don't confirm their appointment with the keyword trigger, we're going to let the team member know. Okay. We're also going to follow up with them again. Ultimately, we're going to cancel their appointment if they don't reply with the keyword trigger within a specified amount of time. And then we're canceling their appointment through another workflow so that they don't get removed from this one, because we also want to send them to a bot if they do reply. Let's see. So we send them like a SMS message. Please reply 1 to reschedule, or reply 1 to confirm, or reply 2 if you need to reschedule. If they reply with 2, the word 2 or the number 2, they're going to get this message. Okay, let's get you rescheduled. When is a better day and time for you? And then if they reply to that, they're going to get sent to the reschedule bot up here, who's going to attempt to book them again. Okay. Again, all custom values. They initially filled out a meta lead form and expressed interest in our, $185 this, $97 that, $200 this. Okay. Offer description designed to blah, blah, blah benefits. They went on to book an appointment but needed to reschedule. It doesn't matter why. We've already canceled their appointment, and they've just replied to this message. Okay, so just giving the bot a little bit of context. Now it's your job to pick up the conversation from here. Okay, that kind of thing. Scheduling protocol. Everything's custom values. Okay, so all you got to do is really just get your custom values set up, and for that you can even use a bot. So this is the appointments workflow. I'm not going to run through all these because this would make this video ridiculously long. Cold lead and appointment not held. This is like a follow-up workflow. So for example, if this was like an actual lead and the client moved them over to appointment not held, okay, the lead is going to, where's cold lead at? So there's two triggers for this workflow right here. And this is a 3-day follow-up workflow. So this is for leads who have gone cold, okay? Or they didn't show up for their appointment, or their appointment was not held for whatever reason, okay? So those are the 2 triggers for that workflow, okay? It waits 3 days for a reply on both sides. The wait period is the same. And then it sends them a series of messages, okay, which will be in here. Oops, cold lead appointment not held. And this kind of explains everything the workflow does, but on the cold lead side, hey, contact first name. I know life gets busy, but I wanted to check back in. You initially mentioned you were interested in our $249 mommy makeover, okay? And this is actually a custom value. I don't know why that's not bold. But, the custom values are all in there anyway. But, these are the messages that get sent out on the cold lead side. And then, of course, you have the appointment not held side, which I did. Oh yeah, here it goes right here. I'm sorry guys, I'm horrible at making videos, but so there's an appointment not held trigger and the cold lead trigger or whatever it is. Okay, but they can come into this workflow. Excuse me, wrong workflow. Okay, there's 2 ways they can come into this workflow. They can come into this workflow manually. Okay, or they can come into this workflow through automation. Okay, so in the appointments workflow that we saw before, and we'll just jump into it. Whoops, sorry about that. So this is where we were. In the appointments workflow, let's jump down to the bottom here. Wait for this to load up here. Okay. So in the appointments workflow, when they haven't replied to the message to confirm their appointment, okay, or one of the follow-up messages to confirm their appointment, we're going to update an opportunity in the pipeline, okay, in this pipeline. Like everything's related to a specific offer. 002 is for mommy makeover. 009 is for whatever your offer is, okay? But you customize these, you know what I mean? You might not be doing a mommy makeover, but the structure is there. The custom value system is there. The pipeline is there. You just rename it to whatever you want to rename it to. But in this workflow here, if they don't reply to the confirmation message or whatever, we're going to update the pipeline and move them to appointment not held. Okay, so that's one of the ways, a lead can come into this 3-day follow-up workflow through automation, which would be what I just explained, or they can come into it through like a manual action. Okay, so for example, one of your clients could just drag them over to appointment not held, okay, which would trigger the appointment not held side of that workflow. And remember, there's also the cold lead side of the workflow. Or we have some custom actions in here, okay? They might be following up with the lead over the phone. And the lead might have said, hit me up in a couple of days. I'm on vacation right now, or I get paid in a couple of days, or, I need a couple of days to think about it, or whatever the case may be, okay? So they can just do this as well, okay? There's a couple different things they could do here based upon what's going on with the lead, but add to cold lead would be one of them, okay? We also have some things there. So the reason why we have this in the pipeline is because there's no stage for cold lead in the pipeline. I didn't want to make the pipeline like too long, you know what I mean? So I just created like basically some custom operational things that are pretty simple to do, but they're already created for you, so you don't got to create anything, but it's already there. But if they put remove from hot lead, if your client, maybe your client's following up with them, we want to get them out of the hot lead workflow, whatever the case may be, okay, they're just going to click remove from hot lead. If they click add to cold lead, it's going to automatically remove them from hot lead, okay? And then, of course, remove from all workflows is going to remove them from all workflows, okay? A case where you might want to remove them from all workflows where, they're just not interested right now, but they're not dead. You know what I mean? Well, if they were just not interested right now, you kind of send them like a long-term nurture workflow, but they're like, you know what? I'm good. I don't want a mommy makeover. Okay. But they haven't like specifically told you don't ever contact me again or anything like that. Maybe next year or something, they might want a mommy makeover, or they might want a facial or something like that. Okay. So we're just going to remove them from all workflows, instead of DNDing them. Okay. And, or moving them to the dead column, which is going to DND them, okay, and prevent anything. But so that's the cold lead workflow. Let's see. Again, we're already at nearing the 30-minute mark. This is a simple workflow here. Not going to, it's just basic. Oh, excuse me. The cancel appointment one is it's just canceling the appointment from this one right here if they don't reply with the confirmation keyword. Long-term nurture, also a very simple one. Let's say, there's, and it's similar to the one before that. They can come in here through automation. So for example, in the hot lead workflow, I'm not going to open it up because it just takes too long, but in the hot lead workflow, if they make it all the way down to the bottom without booking an appointment or whatever, they're going to automatically be added to the long-term nurture workflow, okay? Or, your client might, where'd I go? Okay. Or your client can just manually, move them to long-term nurture, okay? But long-term nurture is a very simple workflow. Anytime leads are added here, it's going to wait 30 days, okay, from the date they get added, and then it's going to send long-term follow-up 1, okay? It's going to wait 10 days for a reply to that. If they reply, it's going to initiate the long-term nurture bot. If they don't reply, it's going to send long-term follow-up 2. We're going to wait 10 days for that. Same kind of thing. If they reply, it's going to go to the long-term nurture bot. If they don't reply, we're going to send long-term follow-up 3. Wait 10 days for that. Okay. So on and so forth. Okay. So that's that. Let's see. And then we have a pipeline workflow. This is kind of like a housekeeping workflow. Just doing some things to keep everything cleaned in the pipeline and whatnot. And then we also have a review request in here as well. If they get updated to service completed, again, this is a manual thing. We don't know who shows up and actually has the service. The clients have to update this part of it, but when they update a lead to service completed, okay, in other words, they drag them over to there, okay, or they click there and do it like this. I mean, a lot of this stuff you guys already know, but it's going to send a review request. Okay. Why I have a wait step in there, I don't know. I'm just putting a little wait step in there. Maybe the client did it and they're like, oh shit, I don't want to send that review request out, or I don't want to do that, but I don't know. There's a 5-minute wait step there. Then it's going to send a review request. Okay. Again, custom values, review link. Thanks for choosing blah, blah, blah. Okay. Your clients, I have clients that don't want to send a review request to every lead. They want to do that manually. So you can also delete this step, or you can, for example, just turn this into a condition or something, okay, and wait for contact details, tags, includes, and there's no tag in this for there, but send review, like a send review request tag, okay? And you don't have to put a timeout for that, but I'm going to cancel that out. But, and then in this way, like the review request would only get sent to customers for whom your client had added the tag send review request, okay? Yeah, so, I mean, this is basically a housekeeping workflow. And then, of course, we have the follow-up system, which I'll just show you kind of one of them because there's 5 of them. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of them. Okay. Let's just jump into call one made. This first one here is what like starts the follow-up sequence, and that's just the contact being a hot lead. Okay. These are for internal notifications to the team member, to the assigned user. Okay. Trigger is call one made. Okay. We have the automations, we have the AI and whatnot, but the clients, they still need to be making calls. Okay. Follow-up is still hugely important. And I'll keep it all the way real with you. Like if your clients just depend strictly on AI, they're not going to make nowhere near as much money as if they work with AI and also make phone calls. Okay. But this is basically just to remind clients, it's just using a little bit of conditional logic. Pipeline is, we have the, like I showed you guys, we have the call stages in here. So, and the clients, excuse me, not that part of it. Their dispositions. We have the call stages built into the actual pipeline. Okay. So in the follow-up system, we're using conditional logic to determine if the client, made call one yet, made call two, etc. Okay. And we send them an email notification, either you haven't made call two yet for contact name. Okay. Or you haven't moved them to the call two made stage in the custom values pipeline name pipeline. Okay. And, this is call one. We're talking about call two. Why? Because in the first follow-up, this one here, call flow starter, this is where we dealt with the call one notification. Okay. And the wait steps and all of the call in the follow-up system is we're waiting for the appointment book tag. Okay. For the corresponding workflow set. Okay. So in this case, 002. Okay, we're waiting for that appointment book tag. If the tag happens, if the lead books an appointment, okay, they're going to get, the lead's not going to get removed from this workflow because this is about just notifications to our clients. But, was call one made? Okay. If call one was made, this notification isn't going to fire. It's just an email notification. But, either you haven't made call one yet for contact name, or you haven't moved them to the call one made stage in the pipeline. Okay. Make call one as soon as possible, basically. Okay. Waiting 2 days for the appointment book tag. If the tag doesn't become present, we're sending a notification to the client. Okay. And then we go into call one, call one made, where the trigger would be call one made. Okay. The client making call one and dragging, as you've seen in the actual use case of my client that uses the system. Okay. Dragging the lead over. I mean, they could do all this from their phone. They don't even need to use desktop at all. All of this is set up for your clients to do it on their phone. But, basically just reminding the clients, hey, you haven't made call one yet, or you forgot to update them in the pipeline. Make call one as soon as possible. Same thing for calls 2 through 5. Okay. Little follow-up system built into it, which is nice. Plus your clients will get, let's see, hot lead. Let's open up this one real quick, and then I'm going to try to end this. We're at the 36-minute mark already. Sorry about that. If you stuck around for 30 minutes, you're an awesome person. I know many of you don't have that kind of patience, which is all good. But, when the lead comes in, when they become a lead, okay, this is what goes out to the assigned user. Has just become a new lead to maximize conversion opportunities, monitor the progress in the pipeline. So even the pipeline name is a custom value, okay? If contact name does not book an appointment or respond to automated messages, make call one as soon as possible to attempt blah, 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 okay? And then we're just explaining to them what to do, in the pipeline. A lot of stuff is built on the pipeline. The pipeline and the workflows, the pipelines and the workflows all go hand in hand. But the document, each one of these offers has its own document, okay? It has the assets, okay? So the Canva templates for the offer, for like what the specific offer is. In this case, it's a mommy makeover, okay? So it has the Canva video templates for it, okay, which you just customize and make your own. These are winning templates, meaning like clients from New Jersey to California are actually making money off of these ads right now. Has the 5 ad copy variations for the offer, okay? Meta lets you create 5 different variations. You should definitely be maxing out on those. And, just as a quick side note, the most important thing about the variations are the hooks, okay? So that's why we're doing 5, And this is basically like, what's visible to them before they have to click see more, okay? We try to pack as much into, that opening line that they can see without having to see more, okay? So there's the 5 different ad copy variations with, 5 different hooks that this is working basically. All this stuff's working. This isn't stuff that I just made up and it hasn't been proven, but all this is demonstrated in the field. Like I'm running actual ads with these templates. I'm running actual ads using the same structure, okay? So there's some instructions in here. The instructions are pretty simple. I mean, it's not that complex, but there's a description of what all of the stages in the pipeline mean, what they do, kind of like how they relate to each other and stuff like that. And then, of course, we have all of the custom values, and then all of the different bots, okay? So, the different workflows, what they do, how they're triggered, et cetera, okay? So another thing I want to mention before I end this is that, so, this offer right here, like, body sculpting is, usually you need a free consultation with body sculpting because the lead has to be qualified. Okay. Not all leads are good candidates for body sculpting. Okay. For example, they could be, just like morbidly obese and not a great candidate for body sculpting. In this case, they might be a better candidate for medical weight loss first and then body sculpting. But so this whole flow here is for like a free consultation, okay, where there's no deposit being collected or anything like that. But what if what if you have a deposit? What if your client needs a deposit? Okay, so we have a whole deposit flow as well, which is very similar to that flow, but with some, oh, here, let me just, so this is like a deposit, and there's a couple other deposit flows in there as well, but this is like one of the deposit flows in here as well. And your clients need to be connected to Stripe for the deposit flow to work. Okay, but so there's a flow for deposits too, for your clients to collect the deposit to confirm the appointment and whatnot. But and again, the deposit flow also works. You know what I mean? Like, I got people running it right now that are getting the deposits and all that kind of stuff. And then of course I got my one client that I showed you guys where we let them book on GHL without paying a deposit, but then like she books them on Booksy, and at this point she's already had the consultation with them. She books them on Booksy and then sends them a deposit link, and they pay the deposit. But so there's a deposit flow as well. Let me just kind of show you guys one of those. So this one here. So same thing, okay, except it's a deposit flow. Okay, it's got the Canva video templates for, like the offer that this is for like lash extensions. Okay, so these are like Canva video templates for lashes. There's the square version, there's the vertical version. You should be using both. There's the ad copy variations and whatnot. But and then there's the there's the deposit flow. Okay, this workflow is triggered when an appointment is booked on a designated calendar, blah 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 blah. Okay, the deposit reminder sequence begins with a 2-hour wait step that uses conditional logic based on tag automation from another workflow. Okay, so we have a whole deposit flow as well. But yeah, I mean, I think I've pretty much covered a lot of different stuff. If you're one of the people who are actually going to purchase this template, this snapshot, okay, it does come with a 2-hour like implementation call, okay, where it's just me and you on Google Meet, and I can answer your questions, any kind of implementation questions, any questions at all that you have about the snapshot, about anything. So you get a 2-hour one-on-one call on Google Meet, just me and you, so we can run through everything and just make sure you understand everything, how to repurpose anything that needs to be repurposed, et cetera, et cetera. And you can break that, if you want to break that implementation call up into 2, you can. So we could do like 1 hour one day, another hour another day. But that's that. Let me know if you have any questions. If you're ready to pull the trigger, like, let's do it. Right now the price is $497. I could tell you straight up, like, I've sold this for $497. I sold it for $697, $897, $1297. If you're thinking about purchasing it, or you're on the fence or whatever, I would advise you to pull the trigger ASAP, because in a week or two, like, if you hit me up, by then I could have already went back to $1297 or $1497 or whatever it is. So sometimes that happens with people. Like, they'll hit me up. Like, when I first started selling it, I sold it for $297, and then a guy hit me up, a guy I was talking to in the group, he hit me up more than a month later, for $297. I said, I'm sorry, buddy, like, You know, at that time it was $6.97. I said it's $6.97 right now. You know what I mean? But so the price kind of is subject to change. But yeah, if you want it right now, it's at $4.97. It'll never be below $4.97 again. Okay, but it'll certainly be above $4.97. I can guarantee that. I just, you know, every now and then I bump the price up a little bit, but right now, $4.97. If you want it, hit me up. Get the 2-hour implementation call. Understand how to use it. Get the Canva assets, the videos, the ad copy, all that. I got a bunch of different GPTs for you related to meta ads as well. How to structure them, et cetera, et cetera. And most importantly, go and crush it for your clients.